Fries. I'm Jeff. We are too short today, so we're joined by Joe.
Hey.
And other Jeff.
Hey.
So it's just going to be the three of us, it looks like, tonight. Will might potentially pop in later. Go ahead and take it over, Joe.
Okay, The Irishman. The Irishman is a 2019 work of cinema directed by Martin Scorsese. It has an all-star cast with Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, Al Pacino, Harvey Keitel, Stephen Graham, Bobby Cannavale, Anna Paquin, and even Ray Romano is in it. This is Martin Scorsese's 25th work of cinema, his 9th work of cinema starring Robert De Niro, and his first work of cinema with Al Pacino. The runtime is 3 hours, 29 minutes. I'm really glad they didn't go to 3:30. That would have been pushing it.
I felt that. I felt like 2.5 hours is pushing it. Whew.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's based on the 2004 work of literature, I Heard You Paint Houses, which some say is fabricated or at least partially fictional.
Yeah, just the story that Sheeran tells, a lot of people take issue with.
Right.
So the whole thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, it could be like the Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. Is that the name of that movie?
Yeah.
Where he embellishes things and makes things up.
Yeah, that's a good flick, actually.
Yeah. Some say Martin Scorsese is a one-note director. He always directs Italian gangster movies. Well, he really defied all expectations by directing an Irish gangster movie. I picked this movie for the Shelf of Shame category because one time some guy told me I should check this movie out, and I said, yeah, I'll check that out. And it's been 3 years. So, I mean, honestly, I wasn't that ashamed of not having seen it. I'm pretty happy with, The Raging Bull and The Departed and Goodfellas and all those other great Martin Scorsese movies. I feel like this kind of pales in comparison to those. I don't know. What are your guys' initial thoughts on The Irishman?
Why don't you go ahead, Joe or Jeff? I'll follow up.
Yeah. Like you said, I'm a real big fan of Casino and Goodfellas. This movie just kind of overstays its welcome on the screen. And I think 99% of other directors, the studio would have told them to go back to the editing room and get it down to 2 hours. And it might have been a better movie, honestly, if they had cut this down to 2 hours. Because there's some stuff they could definitely cut. But Scorsese just gets to kind of do what he wants because he's Martin Scorsese.
Well, that's not a bad thing to have directors being able to do what they want in some cases.
Yeah, but I mean, there's some limits that need to be put up, right? Like this is also how we got the Star Wars prequels, right? Because George Lucas was just allowed to do everything he wanted, and nobody's big enough to tell him no.
I don't know about that. I don't know if you guys have seen. There's some recent George Lucas interviews with that British guy Charlie something, and he talks about how American cinema is different from Soviet cinema because in Soviet cinema there's one rule: you can't criticize the Soviet Union, but in America there's one rule: you have to make money.
Yeah.
So I feel like he was trying so hard to make a movie that families and children would love, that was his big problem.
Maybe. Anyway, my point though, I think a trip to the editing would have made this a 10 times better movie.
I'm kind of on the same wavelength as you, but for a different reason. So a lot of Scorsese's older flicks, like you mentioned, Casino or Goodfellas or The Departed, have a lot more punchiness to them.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like they just have an energy that The Irishman doesn't have.
Yeah.
So, like,
And
for me,
Casino's super long too.
yeah, like I don't mind
And
like
I'm
a
okay
longer
with it.
movie. If you
Yeah.
need 3.5 hours to tell me your story, by all means, take that 3.5 hours. But it's harder to stomach and to get through when it's just not like I could watch 3.5 hours of Casino because Casino is just go 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 go. You know what I
Right.
mean? And this just didn't have that same feel to it.
See, I agree with you. I think you're right. I think it's part. I think Robert De Niro kind of drags it down. I don't think his character is that fleshed out. He's kind of an all too typical, working guy who becomes a gangster. It's too much like what we've seen before. So I don't think it's the runtime that this movie is. That's the problem.
I'm looking at it now. Casino is about 30 minutes shorter than this movie, so it's still pretty long.
Casino feels like an hour and a half, though. You know what I mean?
Right?
Like,
because it moves faster. It's constantly going, and it's honestly a more interesting story, more interesting characters.
It's just more engaging.
My other issue with this movie too is, I mean, no disrespect to De Niro and Pacino and Pesci, but they're a little old to be playing the roles that they're playing. I mean, they play their roles in like 3 different time periods, and they're probably fine for the 2 older versions of the characters, right? Like super old De Niro is probably in the nursing home. He's fine, obviously. Oldish De Niro is fine, but like in the parts of the movie where he and Joe Pesci and Al Pacino are all supposed to be like 30s.
I don't know. I think 40s. I don't know.
Even
still, it's pushing it, and like they're great actors. I love them, but you can't act 30 years younger. Like, there's not enough makeup in the world, and there's not enough shoe polish to rub into their hair.
I thought they used CGI or something to de-age them. Am I wrong?
Probably, but
they did. Pacino talked about how they would like push for them to put themselves in the mindset of who they were at the time. So he said, I believe he said something along the lines of they would constantly be reminding you of what your life was like in the 30s, so it was easier to play like you were in the 30s. And I could definitely kind of see it in some ways, but I also kind of have to agree, like, I don't know, a 98-year-old man playing a 30 or 40-year-old man is just, no amount of de-aging is going to change how that's delivered, you know? Like, I feel like if you took Pacino de-aged to 30, playing like he's 30, against Pacino in his 30s, it'd be night and day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just the way that carry your body at that age. Like, you can't CGI that. You can't put makeup on that, you know?
Well, think of how kinetic Pacino used to be. You know what I mean? Like, you watch old Pacino flicks, that dude was chewing through everything. He was all over the place.
Yeah.
And like, that is not Pacino now. Pacino looks like he can barely walk.
Yeah.
He was great though. I mean, they're great actors and I love them, but
they did well with what they were like. I feel like they did a good job given the circumstances.
Yeah.
I definitely don't want to understate that at all. Like, I think they did their best and I think that was good. I just,
yeah,
sometimes the best ain't good enough, you know? How about you, Joe? What thoughts you got?
I didn't take too extensive of notes. I tend to agree with everything you said. That I mean, it's not the runtime; it's the story itself. It doesn't need to be 3.5 hours.
You know what it is? It's too many.
Too what?
Too many words in it.
Yeah, too many words. Too many notes. Just take a few words out. No, but I kind of agree. It just, I don't know. It drags. It definitely drags, and it's a bummer because I do like what it's trying to do. You know what I mean? Like, to show us this whole life of like these two growing together. I feel like that did have an impact. You know what I mean? Seeing so much of Sheeran and Hoffa definitely added to the story.
Yeah,
and I think definitely help the payoff. Like I feel like the writing was there for the most part, at least in some places, I guess. And I can't tell if it's necessarily the delivery of what was written or if it's straight up what was written, but something there didn't quite click for me. And because of that, it was just kind of boring.
Right. I really like the ambition of making a gangster movie that takes place over multiple generations. It's like Boyhood meets Goodfellas.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm happy that it exists. It's nice to see Scorsese still making stuff, but yeah, I think I agree. It's just, I don't know, too damn long.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think about this? Is this cinema?
In some ways, yeah. I think it's ambitious in its own way. I think it's ambitious in different ways than the people who made it probably think it's ambitious, but I think it's ambitious. I think the idea of bringing like damn near 300 years between them in actors, like legit Pesci, Pacino, and De Niro are all like 90 plus. So it's just wild to see all of them bouncing off each other. And I think to make them the center of a 3.5 hour movie, and I think for him to tell it in the way that he did, all of those things for the most part I like. It's just, yeah. So I'm kind of rambling about this flick.
No, that's okay. I honestly, I really liked Ray Romano. His small role too. I think he did great, and I'd like to see him in more things.
Surprised to see him, yeah.
Yeah.
There was a couple people in this I was surprised and happy to see. Jesse Plemons in this movie. And then I had to go back to check. Action Bronson's in this movie. I don't know if either of you know who famous rapper Action Bronson is.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Also, really glad Anna Paquin's still getting work.
Yeah, she's good. She could have had like a line or two, but
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, she's good.
Yeah.
Oh, what a cast. Jim Norton.
Oh, he's in this. Is he a comedian, that guy? Jim Norton?
Yeah.
Name rings a bell.
Okay.
He's got a familiar face.
Not the radio guy.
Yo, what kind of name is Skinny Razor? Let's talk about that, shall we? Is he brother to Fat Razor?
I mean, probably.
I would not be able to take that seriously if somebody's like, yo, I need you to report to Skinny Razor.
I mean, nowadays, anything goes for names, but not in 1950, whatever.
Oh, man. Irene Sheeran?
Oh, like, I heard from whispers, no the other whispers.
It reminds me of Dick Tracy.
Yeah,
like mumbles and flat top and shit.
Names.
Yet another movie where Pacino is younger and much more animated.
Wait, Pacino was in Dick Tracy? I haven't seen that movie since I was like 8.
Yeah, he's not Mumbles. That's hold on. Now I'm super curious. I remember I rewatched that movie a few years ago, and I remember being blown away by the cast of it because I was too young to appreciate it. First time I watched it. Dick Tracy film. There we go. Yeah, Al Pacino, Madonna, Glenn Headey, Dick Van Dyke, Dustin Hoffman, Mandy Patinkin, James Caan, Catherine O'Hara.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Al Pacino was the main villain, Big Boy Caprice. Alphonse Big Boy Caprice.
Huh. It's fun.
We should have watched Dick Tracy. That movie is nice and clean and quick.
It was a Dick Tracy movie.
You never? Oh, you didn't know there was a Dick Tracy movie? We could have watched Dick Tracy.
What is it? Not a '90s one. I didn't know that. Yeah.
It's real good, dude. It's real good. Big fan.
Madonna's in it.
Yeah, Warren Beatty and shit. Music by Danny Elfman. It's a banger. It's a great movie, I think. It's corny, but like it's corny in a good way. It's fun.
Maybe I'll pick it. I'm not gonna pick it. I gotta pick Wind Up.
I would if I could.
Wait, who goes next? You, right?
I do.
Orlando?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Anyway, The Irishman, though.
Yeah, I wanted to say one thing a minute ago.
Sure.
So this movie does have a great cast, but I feel like none of the characters really stand out as being special or unique. They're all gangsters who are, paranoid and self-serving, just like typical gangsters and typical guys. It's not like any of them. It's not like in Scarface or the Goodfellas where, someone's unique.
Right. What do you guys think about, like, every 15 minutes or so, they'll show some character that you never see again, but they'll put text over his face, like, so-and-so
I like that.
got shot in the face in his kitchen in 1990, or... What do you guys think about that?
I think it adds to the realism.
Yeah?
It ties it down. I agree.
Yeah.
Sure.
I feel like the font was terrible for that, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
It looked like they did. And even the initial, when the words, I hear you paint houses appeared on screen, it just didn't seem like they put much work into the design. But what were you going to say, Jeff, about the realism or whatever?
Oh, it's just that putting that information up just ties it down. You know what I mean? You don't really think about the fact that, like you look at it as a movie. So like every time that it's reminding you that like, this is an actual story, I guess.
Based on real events, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But it's just like, it's a constant reminder in movie instead of being right before it.
Or being like in the credits at the end.
Yeah, and like
that's the way a lot of movies do it.
I watch a lot of Joel and Ethan Coen, so I don't trust true story at the beginning of anything. So for this movie to like constantly remind me, like, no, this is actually tied to real things that happened. I like that.
Right, but then later, apparently, you went online and you found out that people disagree with Frank Sheeran with his account of what's going on.
It's debated. It's like straight up debated, which I'm probably going to read more into on my own time because I'm actually very curious about it.
Yeah, I bet if you go to the Wikipedia page for Jimmy Hoffa, I bet Frank Sheeran isn't mentioned. I bet he's not even a...
I have a Slate article up by Bill Tonelli called The Lies of the Irishman, and it is a huge article going over like different people from the FBI and shit speaking up about what they think of the movie.
Well, read it all. We got time to kill.
Yeah, right. I have Macner's notes here.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm just gonna read / skim.
Sure.
He says it's a great technical gangster film. The de-aging tech is cool, but looks better in dimly lit scenes. I hate CG de-aging and shit so bad. I hate it.
Yeah. Just hire a fucking younger actor.
Yeah, like it's okay, man. I could suspend the disbelief. It's fine. Like I promise. Daytime scenes betray the tech. For a gangster film, this one is insanely dry. Agreed.
Yeah.
Acting is exceptional. Sets are great. Events are factually accurate and interesting. Yeah, totally. Definitely really happened. But I like fantasy and emotion in films. This one is just filled with history and politics, peppered with anticlimactic crime scenes, court hearings, heavy mob persuasion, money being passed around, gets boring really quick. He said this, he said that bullshit. I want an apology bullshit. It all gets old quicker than the characters do. I like Peggy. For when she's young, she recognizes the bad shit the moment it's visible and hates it. I liked how Russ expects everyone to complete their tasks themselves. I don't need two roads coming back to me, yet all roads eventually lead back to him.
Mm-hmm.
The barbershop scene is amazing. The camera movement is done very well. Also, the scene where Frank takes out Crazy Joe at Umberto's clam house was kind of cool.
A lot of murders were were great.
I'm going to just jump right into his rating and just knock this all out of the way right now. He gives it a 6.5 out of 10. Deductions for the duration combined with the saturated politics and boring conversations. I'm no history buff and barely follow politics. I felt like I was reading a book about Frank Sheeran in the Jimmy Hoffa era. I prefer Scorsese's earlier works with more humor and flair. I think this is my lowest rating for any of our films so far, but that's not anything against Joe. This film should be seen by any fan of Scorsese. I agree. I honestly think this is probably the movie where we've all been almost universally agreed on a movie. We all seem to be exactly on the same.
No, I think this movie it's mediocre, and that's the worst thing a movie can be.
I agree.
Yeah. Yep. Like a really, really bad movie, at least is something more to. It's something to, whack with a stick. But a mediocre movie, it's like, oh yeah, that's the movie.
It's just boring,
right?
Like, I don't know. I would definitely probably rate it about the same too. TBH.
I'd also disagree that I think he said that he didn't like that they were arguing about. One of the guys said he would do something to a granddaughter, and no one would apologize. I feel like that is one of the best things in gangster movies, when they're arguing about social faux pas and etiquette and things like that. Seeing the human side of gangsters, and like in Goodfellas when Joe Pesci is saying, "You think I'm funny? What kind of funny?"
Right? That's the best scene in that movie. Love that.
And this movie, it had just a few elements of humor, and like I said before, I think the murders were pretty interesting, pretty well done.
Yeah,
the energy just isn't there. The energy isn't there.
Not surprising. It's all geriatric.
I think Pacino brings the energy, but the others don't. Yeah. I don't know. And maybe it's just that they're playing more boring characters than this. I don't know.
Pesci's like a bull in a china shop in every other Scorsese flick.
That
dude just comes in, he's yelling, he's screaming, he's animated, he's throwing hands everywhere, he's talking shit, he's swearing.
Right, and then this movie just kind of sits there the whole movie. And you don't need Joe Pesci to play that role,
Yeah.
But I don't know. He wanted to put Pesci in it somewhere, and that's where he put him, I guess.
This feels like an excuse for him to get the band back together. He's like,
yeah, right, exactly.
It's a reunion tour, yeah.
One last ride.
A legacy tour.
You guys want to hang out for a year? Maybe we'll make a movie or something. I don't know.
It's the Rolling
Stones. I'm surprised. Is that true that Scorsese hadn't made anything with Pacino before?
Oh yeah, that's true.
Wow, that surprises me because they fit.
Yeah,
they make sense. But
I think Scorsese was almost going to direct The Godfather Part 2, but he didn't.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. I mean, that's okay. Godfather 2 is great.
Yeah. It's the one I've seen the least. Somehow I've seen 1 and 3 like 2 or 3 times. I've seen 2 once.
Yeah.
I don't know how that keeps happening.
I think I've seen them each a few times. Not enough to...
Can we just talk about how mafia movies in general, at least for me, just kind of turn into a slurry in my brain? Like,
right. They do. Yeah.
Like, I get them confused all the time. I forget somehow that Ray Liotta is even in Goodfellas sometimes, let alone the lead. And I've seen Goodfellas several times. Like, it's all just a blur to me. I could have sworn Scorsese directed one of the Godfather flicks. Like, I had to prove myself wrong. Like, I don't know. And I do think a good mob movie... I like a good mob movie. I really do. And there's great mob movies. And I definitely don't want to hate on Scorsese. Even if Scorsese is a one-trick pony and just can only do mob movies, that's fine, so long as he's doing something entertaining or, I guess, something that I give more of a shit about. I know that sounds incredibly terrible. This movie wasn't bad, but, like, I don't know. The more and more I think about his other flicks.
Right. Well, it's like I know what he can do, and he just bring it smooth. Mm-hmm. is what it feels like.
The thing I like about Goodfellas is the music, the pop culture, the wittiness.
Yeah.
The violence. Like, I feel like it's a good 90s mob movie. And the thing about the Godfather movies, not 3, I haven't seen 3 actually, but the thing that's good about the first 2 is that they're steeped in realism and just masterful acting.
Yeah.
They're both good for completely different reasons.
Well, one thing too, like in Goodfellas and Casino, correct me if I'm wrong, but they don't jump around in time, right? Like they follow a long span of time each story, but I don't think they jump around.
I haven't seen Casino, but Goodfellas is like canned narration. He's like telling you his story of his life.
Yeah. So I think that's a problem in this movie, is that it jumps around, and I don't know. It's like Scorsese trying to take a little Tarantino, and it doesn't work. I don't like it.
I think this might be the first spot where I disagree. I actually like that he hopped around a little bit. It felt fresh for Scorsese.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he stuck the landing with it for the most part. I think the one reason I kind of bounced off of it is because we would bounce around and I would get CG faces.
Right. Yeah, I probably would have liked it more with like different actors.
Like legitimately. Yes.
Yeah. I think I would have liked it more like that.
Even just one other actor. Just bring in one other actor who's younger and then age him up, and then maybe at some point just start practically de-aging whoever's playing the older version. You know what I mean? Like have a younger Pacino and have younger Pacino play it up to what, like 40s or something? You know what I mean? 50s. And then have older Pacino take over.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
There's something to be said about practical shit, man.
Oh, always. Yeah.
So what do you guys do we have anything else? Do we want to do ratings?
No, I think we could go right into ratings. I give it a 10. No, I'm kidding.
I was about to ask.
I give it a perfect 5.
Pretty middling. I get it.
Sure.
I don't think I'll ever watch it again in my life.
Yeah.
I probably won't
that's what I said a few years ago.
I told you didn't have to watch it again. Like, I think we would have had the same conversation even if you hadn't watched it again.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. I'm glad I watched it for this.
What do you think, Molander?
I think this is where our standards and what numbers we think are bad numbers comes out. Because like, I'd give it like a 3 or 4. I'll say 4 out of 10. And I just.
Is that purely just based off enjoyment and what you got out of the movie?
I just didn't enjoy it, and I would rather not watch it ever again, and I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. Like, I don't know.
I guess
I gotta knock it up from like a 1 or a 2, because like I've seen worse movies, and Scorsese and all these actors deserve, some a bump in the points a little bit, so that's what brings it up to a 4 for me.
I'm a little bit ahead of that. I'd probably give it somewhere like around a 5 or 6. I don't hate that this movie exists. I just think it could have been better.
Yeah.
I definitely think it could have been better, but I don't know. Like, I don't think it's nearly as tired as some other things I've seen.
Sure.
I don't regret it by any means. But yeah, I definitely had plenty of issue with it. Mostly the fact that it was droll as fuck.
Yeah.
I could put this movie on and to get if I'm having trouble sleeping. Instead of putting on a podcast, I could just put on the Irishman.
I did fall asleep a couple times. It took me like 4 or 5 sittings yesterday to watch this movie. Yeah. I had to keep getting up and doing something else and making food and whatever.
All right. Well, Molander, what is going to be next on the
I
call it shelf of shame? Yeah.
I had this whole list
Yeah.
And I'm not picking anything from it.
Damn. Okay. I was really hoping you were going to drop Shawshank. I was like, Shawshank.
I know. There's some really good stuff on that list that I do mean to see. But it occurred to me, I don't know, maybe a couple weeks ago, that there is one Tarantino movie that I have not seen, and I just gotta finish the collection, right?
Yeah.
Jackie Brown. We're gonna watch Jackie Brown, guys.
Nice. Down to clown with that.
I have no idea what the movie's about. About Jackie Brown. I assume it's about Jackie Brown.
One De Niro flick. One De Niro flick followed by another De Niro flick.
Oh, De Niro's in it?
Yeah.
Great.
A younger, more energetic De Niro.
I know nothing about this movie other than that it's Tarantino and I haven't seen it.
Keep it that way. Just go in dry.
Okay.
Yeah. I think
that's my pick. Yeah.
I'm glad we're watching Jackie Brown instead of Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs.
Yes.
Well, I've seen both of those like a million times. So.
And I've talked about them a million times. I have not talked about Jackie Brown a lot, and I would love to talk about this fucking movie. I got a lot of things to say about this movie.